Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.
We're going back to back. Welcome to the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Rivas, and who are you, sir?
Producer Matt Duncan. How are things going on your end there, Fred?
Things are going. Things are going. Yeah, how are you doing?
Doing okay, you know, air in, air out. I think that's what everyone's doing these days, so we just got to keep breathing. You know what I mean? Hello?
Yeah. I lost
like
you for a sec there. It's funny. I lost you when you said, I just gotta. So I didn't hear what you said after that.
I said, I got to keep breathing. And then it went to like a huge pause.
Oh, that's great. That works pretty well. So everyone who's listening to this, keep breathing.
Yeah.
Don't pause in your breathing if possible. Yeah, this is the end of the road for The Last Dance, right? We covered episodes 9 and 10. It's pretty fun. Lots of moments. No spoiler on who Matt's favorite people are in the pod, but you'll get there. It's a good time. But if somebody's listening to this, that means they found the podcast. Thank you. But if they want to find it again or share it with people, how are they going to do that, Matt?
You can go to, our dunkspodcast.com website with all our links for iTunes and Stitcher. Get on your favorite podcatcher and subscribe and rate. That would be great. And, then you can get the episodes when they're ready to go and don't have to worry about it. You only got to subscribe once and then you're done.
And what about if people, they want to really kind of invest in us being super powerful people globally?
Would that be going to our Patreon?
Yeah.
We have a Patreon there, guys. If you guys want to chip in, it'll help us to inject some fuel into the old pod. And, you get some perks here and there. And, so check it out at patreon.com/dunkspodcast.
Ooh, I like that. I like the little, ending there. It's a nice smooth landing. But I think people really want to know about our anti-itching products.
Yeah, the main one on the market right now for anti-itching is our toques. And you do not have to baby powder your head, which most people do when they put on a toque. So, you can throw that bottle out. You can save money there. And it only costs $20 a head top. You know what? You can wear it on those cool summer days, and then you're all set to go for the winter.
Well, I think I feel ready. I think I would feel even more ready if you would just tell me the words okay.
Okay!
Okay, here we go. The last two episodes of The Last Dance, 9 and 10. Let's bring on guest number 1. He's done the podcast a bunch of times. He's one of the earliest guests of the podcast, and honestly, it was inspired by his podcast at the time, Sporty Bras, with Graham K. I'm sure he'll tell you what he's up to, and we'll give him some plugs at the end of the ep. But without any further ado, give it up for Dylan Gott.
I forgot about the song. Thanks for the sweet song. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to talk about The Last Dance.
Thanks for doing the show. I'm very excited to have you, and I'm very excited that even though you forgot that song, it didn't forget you.
I'm actually more excited to talk about my fan-made documentary about Luke Longley only, called The Difference Maker.
Oh, that's good stuff. I'm sure that will garner, I don't know, at least 1/100th of the views that the Jordan Talk garnered.
Yeah, it's just like a Luke Longley highlights about when he boxed people out, but other people got the rebound because they could dribble.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there is 5 people, so sometimes you get the Marcus Gasol rebound where you just take up some space. And
Yeah, exactly. That Brooke Lopez rebound, where you just box out because you're all about the fundamentals. Luke Longley, my best friend. That's the documentary.
My best friend.
I also put myself in that Luke Longley had a friendship with a then 12-year-old Dylan Gott. And it wasn't weird.
Yeah, that doesn't sound weird at all.
It wasn't weird.
Let's bring on guest number 2. He's on the podcast a couple times. We very briefly worked in the same building. He is just like a classic OG Raptors fan. Saw games at Skydome, and I might be confusing this, but he maybe saw the first Raptor game ever. He'll clarify that. Anyways, give it up for Bobby Brown. Bobby, thanks for joining us, man.
Wow, that's some club music. I think I had that last time, too. How y'all doing? I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me on again. I'm very pumped to talk about documentaries as well. And yes, to clarify, I have been to the very first Raptor game I saw at the Skydome, where Michael Jordan played, actually, Chicago Bulls. So that was like my only moment seeing Michael Jordan live, and it's one of my highlights of my life.
I mean, yeah, of course it would be, like in the Skydome too. What a strike! Like your viewing experience of Michael was a lot like, that one part of the documentary where he was, kind of like on a mini retirement tour. But I think this was before baseball, or it might have been the 98 year actually. But like his game in Atlanta when it was like 60,000 people.
Right. It was it was after the retirement, I believe. And I do remember that was the year when they went. I think it was like the crazy record was like what 80 wins, I believe. No, 79 wins.
Yeah, it was 72.
80 wins would have been crazy.
Week. Like how did we beat them? Like what were they doing the night before? Were they partying?
Oh, I'm sure. if you're in Toronto and you're playing in a place called the Skydome and you're Michael Jordan, you're like, I don't even need to create a slight for this.
Well, also, like, we had a weird thing where I think we beat them, like, we beat them again the next year. Like, it was this weird thing where the Raptors, because the Raptors also had Alvin Robertson at that time, who, if you look him up, is one of the most disgusting people to ever play professional basketball, but also the best average steals in the history of the NBA. He, when he came back from the Raptors, when he was on the Raptors, he was injured for like 2 years, and then he came back and still averaged like 3 steals a game on the Raptors.
He was a great defender.
He was amazing.
Yeah. He
was amazing, but he's like one of the worst. If you go on Wikipedia, he's one of the worst people ever to play basketball. I cannot overstate that.
Ha. Yeah,
it's like him and Hitler are tied if Hitler ever played basketball.
Honestly, when you have Dylan Gott on the pod, it starts off a rockin'.
It's going to be Sad History by Dylan Gott.
We're going to get a Hitler comp here, a Luke Longley love fest there. It's a mixed bag, really. But
I was torn between Longley and Bushler, but Judd Bushler was in the documentary. Judd Bushler was in the documentary. Luke Longley refused to be in the documentary because he hated Michael Jordan that much. And that's not what my documentary is about. It's just about us being friends. There's no drama.
I did hear that, though. He's one of the players that, a lot of guys kind of, and we've covered this on previous episodes, but a lot of guys kind of, were able to adjust to Michael's like leadership style and win. And, there were some guys that kind of got bounced out from the system, but there were also guys that won with Jordan and still kind of resent him. So there's the full gamut with Jordan, but, I think we should get going here because let's just dive right into it. So Maddie, I don't know what you got in the cannon there, but if you got something, give me a sting, baby.
A sting usually isn't 45 seconds long.
Honestly, I keep trying to get Matt to double the length of the stings.
Hey, we're gonna have you on the show. First thing that's gonna happen is a sting. You introduce yourself, then a sting. We're done. 2 hours.
That's right. Let's go to Bobby first here. So yeah, the last 2 episodes of the Last Dance aired obviously in the States first, and then we got it second here in Canada. But
I've been watching the States version on Sunday nights, ESPN.
ooh, pardon me, sir. Yeah, it's Bobby. What's your I guess initial feeling of the documentary? And obviously, you're not writing like a BuzzFeed article, best sports documentaries ever, but where do you think it kind of sits in the larger world of sports documentaries or films or dramatizations, whatever?
Best documentary ever.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the last 4 episodes was pretty amazing. I haven't actually with a tie. I'm just being biased. Obviously, I'm a Raptors fan. Up North Rising is also my favorite, but this is like neck to neck or probably even better. Just the fact that we got 10 hours of footage of this documentary. I think it's a lot of the action footage that we had. I actually found out that all the action footage that we saw was held 20 years in the basement of the NBA office. It just got pulled out. It was just, no one touched it until now, and we got to see it. And I think we're so fortunate. I think this documentary will be talked about for the next 2 or 3 decades.
Well, I think it's definitely, regardless of whether you land on, Jordan myth making or kind of like whatever, that's who he was and this was the real story. I think wherever you land there, this is probably the, not probably, it is the definitive kind of like documentation, just as far as like hours, interviews, backstage footage.
It's award-winning.
Yeah, and access, I think there's a lot of big-time documentaries that it's just impossible to get access, with Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, all like multiple interviews. Yeah, so I think right before I go to Dylan, I really, really enjoyed this documentary, and I'm sure I'll watch it again, like in full at some point. I don't know right away if it's my favorite. Just a couple that jumped to mind was obviously Hoop Dreams, OJ Made in America. I thought was incredible, and then there's some amazing 30 for 30s, including Jordan Rides a Bus, but. Yeah, so but this is like, I think the length of it is what you captured, Bobby. It's really it's long and there's a lot to chew on. Yeah, Dylan, where are you at with this documentary? Are you as high on it? I
don't know if it's the greatest documentary ever, but that's kind of one of those things where there's so many great documentaries, and particularly since 30 for 30. I think you have to give the best documentary of all time, series, certainly to 30 for 30, just because it raised the height of sports documentaries to such a crazy speed. But yeah, I mean, it's great, and it came during the perfect time too. I don't know if this would have been as appreciated if it was released. You know what I mean? If it was released during not maybe the most desperate time in.
It was supposed to come out during It was supposed to come out during the playoffs when LeBron was playing. That was the original schedule.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that wouldn't have been. We wouldn't have gotten half the shine. It would have. You know what I mean? It would have. So obviously, yeah, it's great. And the best part about it is Scotty Burrell. I looked up Scotty Burrell jerseys after every episode. I was like, I want a Scotty Burrell jersey. Post quarantine coming out. Scotty Burrell maybe tattoo at this point.
Oh wow! You're going all the way in. That's amazing.
24 Burrell on the back. Changed my last name, Dylan Burrell. The part in the documentary where Scott Burrell, and it's been memed to hell, but the part of the documentary where Scott Burrell does the fake pass, and then Jordan gives him the look what the fuck are you doing? And then he tries to turn around, and Jordan just no jump blocks it back in his face. And I don't think, this is the other thing about the documentary I think is really telling, is that Jordan had final edit over the whole thing, and he left all the Jerry Krause stuff in where he just called him short and fat, and the Scotty Burrell stuff, and it's I genuinely don't think Michael Jordan thinks bullying is bad, and that's fantastic to me. I don't think he realizes how much of a dick he comes off as. He's just I was just competing by calling this fat guy short.
Right. I mean, I think, yeah, you laid it out kind of plainly, and it was just like that time too. It's obviously like max. Everything's like max alpha, and that's why when I was watching it with my wife yesterday, she started to giggle every time Jordan would go like, and then it became personal.
Oh yeah.
Because it was like, Jordan, I do believe everything is personal, and I'm pretty sure everyone in the world has slighted you. Like the Carl, like to me, I laughed so hard when he goes to the practice with Stockton and Karl Malone, and then he's like like talking shit about Russell, and he's like, oh, this guy's dead, and then obviously the George Karl thing. Like, how do you play that situation right? Like, if George Karl said, how you doing, Michael? He Michael honestly would have been like, oh boy, you just messed up.
They would have probably lost the series. They would have probably lost that series because George Karl didn't even say anything to him, man. He took that very personal. Oh, you don't say nothing to me? Okay, what's going to do to you next time on the court? So, yeah, I mean, he's going to play it a little differently if Brian Russell did not approach Michael Jordan, or if, like I said, George Karl didn't, just said hi to him in a restaurant.
No, man, because there's also allegations that allegations really convey something a lot worse. I heard there's a documentary by a great podcast company called Wondery. It's called Sports Wars, and they do a whole thing on the Isaiah versus Jordan rivalry.
Okay.
And much like have you ever heard the Shaquille O'Neal David Robinson story where Shaq says that David Robinson refused an autograph for him when he was a kid, and then later after his career was like, oh, I made that up? And that's exactly it. Like, the All-Star snub by Isaiah is just made up. He just made that up to try and boost himself up.
Yeah, I mean, he's
and he anything is a slight, you know what I mean? And
for sure.
There's been a lot of really great memes about it. Certainly, Jordan's just a psycho.
It's I mean, you see you see it in really, really intense competitors. Like, I don't want to go off too far on a different tangent, but because we're talking docs, it's actually a 30 for 30 short. But the viral clip of the guy who's bowling and gets a strike and yells, "That's right, I did it. I am," and he can't really complete a sentence.
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes, "You did it, God damn it, right." And it's kind of just like he's like a broken machine. Well, the backstory is insane because he was trying to break his father's legendary bowling record. Yeah. And at some point in the match of this record-breaking thing, he stares over into a crowd, and there's barely anyone there because it's bowling. And he basically he's like, "What'd you say to me?" And no one, it's very clear. No one said anything to him.
Forrest Grant goggles on too.
Oh yes, it's amazing. And then
you can see all of those pins he's murdering.
That's right. Every strike he gets, he keeps looking in the direction, and at one point, people are getting popcorn even, and there's no one there. It's good stuff.
If Michael Jordan was not one of the greatest athletes of all time, and this is the other thing, is that this competitiveness and everything else about Michael Jordan is fantastic, but also I think it was Doris Burke said on one of these after shows, he could float in the air. That was a thing he could do. There's also a part of Michael Jordan that is just he could just jump super high, and he's very strong as well. There's not not all this is and I trained 24 hours a day and I never slept. It's I could also train 24 hours a day, and you know what I mean, still the worst player in the world still going to destroy me. I'm going to get just murdered one-on-one by Judd Bushler.
But a lot of people don't know, especially young generation, he had the craziest hang time in the 80s.
Yeah.
This is before he was lifting weights. His hang time was amazing. He would be jumping in air and you pause for better than anybody else and still make a basket. That's incredible.
Yeah, him and Dr. J and George Gervin were the only dudes who did that before. Now kind of everyone can do it because training methods or whatever, but
right.
Yeah.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm going to say this before I move on. Flubber, look into it. Let's move on to, less gifted players, not even rotation players, kind of like role players. In Steve Kerr, Maddie, Dylan's loving these stings, so I'm sure you got something for us. Fire it up.
Make me feel it.
Taxing massage you, Jerry.
Oh, Matt's hitting you with the most abstract. You want a fax machine, a tugboat, and a chipmunk? You call Matt Duncan. Okay, let's talk some Steve Kerr. Obviously, a lot of role players drift in and out of like rotation guys, and Steve Kerr was definitely one of those people. Like I think if I'm not mistaken, when he was with San Antonio, he played. I'm not sure if he was ever a starter, but I think he played pretty significant minutes, like beyond kind of like just a guy that pops in there for 10 minutes. But I'm kind of want to focus on that part of his career and being, it was blowing me away in the 3-point era, hearing him say that he gets 5 or 6 threes a game, and how precious those were. And there's points in the doc when a team would have a 4-point lead and there's 5 minutes left, and the announcer's like, I don't know what they're gonna do, and it's just such a different game. I'll go to you first, Dylan. Do you have a favorite role player of all time?
Steve Kerr started 30 games his entire career, and he hit over 50% on his threes 4 times in his career.
Wow.
5 times. 95-96 season, he was hitting 52% from 3. He hit 52% from 3, 94-95, and 95-96. Imagine how many threes this dude takes today. And he's a starter today, probably, just for that reason. But I think the best role player of all time, role players are really fun because they're always the guys with more personality than the stars, weirdly. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah.
My favorite role player, I don't know, we got Junkyard Dog and Birdman was really good. People forget how Birdman could come into a game for 5 minutes, get 6 blocks and 6 boards, and then just not play for the rest of the series.
Yeah, Birdman's a great pick. He's someone who totally could change a game, and for sure, he might have had years in playing for the Nuggets where he was like a full-time rotation guy, but he definitely was a lightning in a bottle, on those Heat teams. And who's your
come in and get 9 blocks and then be off? Sorry.
No, yeah, and obviously flap his wings like a bird, which is always great. And Bobby, who's your favorite role player? Do you have one?
Some of my favorite role players actually all play for the Lakers, but because we're talking about threes with Steve Kerr, I wasn't saying Robert Horry, but I'm still going to go back to the Lakers. If you look at it, there's only 3 players who all played on the 5 times on the Showtime Lakers championships. And it was Michael Cooper in the 80s.
Michael Cooper, nice.
Michael Cooper.
I remember Michael Cooper.
He was also I think he was a defensive player in 1987. He made all defensive team 8 straight years, including all first defensive team 5 straight times. And this is a guy coming off a bench who can also play lockdown defense, and he can shoot the 3 ball.
That's pretty incredible for a role player, and that's basically exactly what you want. I don't have the best answer to my own question. I kind of had Big Shot Bob. Wow. Sean Livingston was a guy who kind of came to mind. David West later years, but he's not the best pick because he had so many years as a front man, and
he was a starter too, I believe.
Yeah, he was an all-star. Nate Robinson was someone I always liked, and I feel like he bounced around the league and never really, had.
I think he started too much to be a role player.
Yeah, I guess that's right. And then, yeah, I mean, these weren't great answers. JJ Barea was the other guy that came to mind.
I also think Robert Horry is. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, were you going to say Robert Horry was a guy?
Big Shot Bob, yeah. I think
he's good, yeah.
I think he made over 250 3-pointers in the playoffs. He has the most in the finals. He's very clutch. He's got 7 rings, and yeah, he's definitely top 5 as well.
No, yeah, he
Big
didn't.
shot.
Sorry, Nate Robinson did not start that much. He had 100 starts in 600 games, so he's actually way more of a six man. Sorry about that.
Thank you so much for apologizing. That actually feels great.
Should I hang up and leave?
No,
My
don't
own
you
house?
dare. Guess what?
Can I
Don't leave
sit
your own
down?
house. First of all, if you leave your own house, I'll be there in a hazmat suit, and you don't want that. But yeah, let's dive into the past. Maddie, I don't know how you're doing. If you're ready, if you want to take us into your draft from the past.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is the last episode. We'll be talking about The Last Dance, and I've tried to keep it somewhat related to Jordan and the Doc. So I figured, we did the 1984 draft, which is when Jordan was drafted, and let's finish when he came back from retirement. The last time. His last season, he passed the torch to a very good draft class. Let's go back to 2003. Whoa, dude, do you guys remember 2003?
Was that LeBron?
That was LeBron, but before we get to the draft, just as a reminder of the times, the Do Not Call list started providing consumers with an opportunity to limit telemarketing calls. Do you remember when we got that?
Oh, how could I forget?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there was the big U.S. invasion of Iraq, and America renamed French fries Freedom Fries to protest.
Okay, some awful memories.
Schwarzenegger was elected governor of California.
Wow.
Nice.
This is a really tough death that happened during 2003. Kiko the Orca, made famous by the Free Willy movie, has passed away.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a
Don't know
tough
too
one.
much about him.
Other than his bent fin.
What are his stats?
I've never seen Free Willy either.
And a big thing for us podcasters, Apple launched iTunes in 2003.
Oh,
What a dream, eh?
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all that happened in 2003. So let's go to New York to the 2003 draft.
Dylan's loving these sound effects.
I was gonna say actually tons of stuff happened in 2003. Just ask Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, that's right. I did see on a
I believe there was a chocolate starfish that got released in some hot dog flavored water that year. But anyway,
Limp Bizkit was a popular artist.
People were rolling that year, guys.
The 2003 draft, so Jordan is officially retired, never played the game again, but passed the torch to this, probably one of the best draft classes in the last 20 years or more, I would say. 58 picks in this draft, 47 played in the NBA, and it produced 9 All-Stars so far. Let's say maybe some are still... No, I think actually everyone that's still playing is an All-Star. Just rip through the top 10 here real quick. LeBron James obviously went first to Cleveland. Darko Milicic went to Detroit.
Terrible pick.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Carmelo Anthony went third to Denver. Chris Bosh, Toronto, picked fourth, followed by Dwayne Wade, fifth to Miami. The Clippers took Chris Kaman. Chicago took Kirk Heinrich. 8 went TJ Ford, went to Milwaukee, followed by the Knicks taking Mike Sweetney, 9th overall, and 10th overall Jarvis Hayes went to Washington. But
sorry, Mike Sweetney is a fat man, and his nicknames are all revolved around the fact that he's fat.
Oh,
Big Mike, Sweets, Big Sour.
Big Sour. That's the
Big
worst
Sour.
one.
Big Sour. It's just like this guy hates everything.
Yeah,
He's just always upset.
If someone called me Big Sour, I'd be like, I need to have you out of my life.
Some other notables in the draft, guys. If you go down the list, Nick Collison. You got your David West going 18th overall to New Orleans.
Nick Collison won a championship with Carmelo in Syracuse. Am I right?
Wait,
I think you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn it, this is an amazing draft. You got the
Boris
last three
Diaw.
picks of the first round: Kendrick Perkins, Leandro Barbosa, and Josh Howard.
Wow.
Decent.
That's great.
Yeah.
Steve Blake went late. Let's not forget Pachulia went 42nd overall to Orlando.
Zaza.
Kyle Korver going 51st overall to the Nets. Still playing. And don't forget the Raptors' second pick, Ramon van der Heer.
Oh, yes. Who could forget him?
He never played a game, unfortunately. But what a fun name. Someone else who didn't play a game who had a great name, Rick Rickard. Damn.
Yeah, just
Wow. Good
Minnesota
eye, man.
selected a made-up guy.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
Rick.
just Kevin McHale trying to draft himself. Let's take Rick Rickard. Kevin, no.
Kevin, not again.
Top 3 draft class ever.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
this draft's amazing.
really good draft class. And some guys, obviously LeBron James leads in the majority of categories here. There's some that he doesn't, obviously because some guys play a little bit less and didn't take as many shots. But I'll ask a first question to you, Freddie.
Okay. Oh wait, can I just jump in here with
Yeah.
some fun Raptors on this list too? You know, you got Matt
Bonner.
Bonner.
Yeah.
Marcus Banks played very briefly for the Raptors. There's a couple other guys in there I saw. I thought maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I was just stalling because I'm afraid of this question. I'm ready.
Oh, TJ Ford.
TJ Ford.
made
yeah.
that shot where, like, I think it was like the Bosch teams where he hit this weird game winner mid-season, and I just remember we were at a bar and everyone going nuts and being like,
Oh,
are the
yeah.
Raptors good now?
I love
great.
TJ. Oh, and Carlos Delfino. That was the other guy.
Yeah.
Oh.
And Barbosa. We have Barbosa.
Well, Freddie, I'll ask you this question. Who in this draft of these three players has the best three-point percentage? Was it our Matt Bonner? Is it Kyle Korver or was it Jason Capono?
Well, I got to go with my man Capono because that's kind of all he did.
That's correct. Jason Capono, 4.34 three-point percentage, followed by Kyle Korver with a 4.29. And Bonner had a pretty good one, too, with a 4.14. Dylan, I'll ask you this question. Who is second to LeBron in total points? Is it Wade or is it Melo?
I gotta say Melo.
That is correct.
Ooh, nice one.
Yeah, he's got 26,314 points. Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne
People
Wade
forget
finished.
about Melo, like buckets. That guy
Yeah.
put in buckets.
He's about 3,000 ahead of Dwayne Wade. He will solidify that as the second best. And the last question, Bobby, this one's for you. Now, in regard to LeBron, now, which of these three categories does he rank the worst in? Free throw percentage, three-point percentage, or rebounds per game?
Wait, what's the first two? They're the same.
Free throw percentage. Second one is three-point percentage.
Oh, 3-point percentage. Oh, man.
Or rebounds per game.
My God. I'm going to have to go with free throws percentage.
That is correct. He is
Hey. We're feeling good.
27th overall right now for free throw percentage. 3-point, he's 18th, and rebounds per game, he's third. He's doing pretty good. But yeah, just one of the very interesting to see how Michael Jordan, he retires from the game, passes the baton, and now we're here in the LeBron era still.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild that it's still LeBron's still such a big figure in the game after all these years.
That's what they said about one. I heard this point made where it's like Jordan didn't play as much as LeBron, not only because he retired, but because he spends 4 years in college when LeBron had already been obviously playing professional basketball all 4 of those years.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's it definitely is like those years count. Like I think that's why any kind of contextual question about greats for me is always so hard because it's like, what stats do you omit? What rule changes do you kind of like what favors who is really, really hard. But let's jump back into
2020.
Yeah, let's jump back into 2020. Matt, if you're ready, take us there.
Whoa.
Oh my God.
Go outside, guys. Are people still wearing masks?
Yep, they're still wearing masks.
Bummer.
Let's jump to this question, and I'm going to start with you, Dylan. I guess best is a bit of a subjective word, but who's the guy that you think was the best on-court adversary to Michael Jordan for whatever reason?
Before we go into this, I am on the same basketball reference page as Matt was, and who ranked 5th in that draft in win shares per 48 minutes? 2003 draft, 5th. Win shares over 48 minutes.
I got to go Darko.
Matt Bonner.
Wow.
Red Rocket,
Matt
baby.
Bonner was 5th. He's ahead of LeBron.
And Carmelo.
He's ahead of Carmelo, and David West is just a bit better than him. Best on-court adversary? I mean, I don't know. You look at the documentary, and it would certainly tell you that it's probably Reggie Miller, but I would probably say Isaiah Thomas, just because really people forget this, but they got robbed of the back end of those Pistons teams because Isaiah tore his Achilles when he was like 31.
They could have won.
Yeah, and they almost had a three-peat as well.
Yeah, I was going to say repeat.
Bobby, is your guy Isaiah? Do you think he kind of gave Jordan the most trouble in his career?
I'm going to have to say, because for Isaiah and the Pistons, they're on the tail end of their dominance in the league. I'm going to have to go with the Knicks. John Starks with the Knicks. John Starks, yes, because here's a guy who went undrafted, played 4 years college, I think Oklahoma. He was cut after his first year in Golden State. And then he played in the CBA. Then I remember he signed with the Knicks. And this guy was a hard-nosed defense, instant offense. He's also like an all-defensive second team. I believe he won a six-man-a-year award later on.
Yep.
But off the bench, he was averaging like 14 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds, and he was a cancer not only to Michael Jordan but to Reggie Miller. Like, he did everything. He would get to fights, trash talking, the rough plays, the ejections. Like, he was competitive. He wanted to win on that Knicks team.
Yeah, he was an incredible competitor, and the Jordan games against those Knicks are just insane, and you can see how amped up they were, and they weren't really dirty. They were tough. And Ewing, I think, is an incredible competitor, Jordan. But obviously, Jordan got the best of him, I think, too often to say that he would be his best adversary. But
very tough team. You had Ewing, Oakley, Anthony Mason, Xavier Dano. To be honest, like I wasn't a diehard Bulls fan. I mean, I started with the Lakers in the 80s, but when I have a connection with New York with my family, so I became a Knicks fan in the 90s, and I actually was rooting for the Knicks to beat Michael Jordan. Also, they had Pat Riley. Pat Riley was supposed to be like the Phil Jackson, winning all these championships, but I think Chicago Bulls beat the Knicks 4 times in the playoffs. Like, they just couldn't beat MJ. Yeah.
My guy is actually Karl Malone, and I thought about this question. I think like that for me, it really felt like the lamest answer. But the more I thought about it, I was just kind of like, yeah, he doesn't have the Eastern Conference thing, so they're not super familiar as far as like playing each other all the time. But I think that when Jordan, like the Last Dance season and the season before it, like those teams were it was like Jordan was such a complete player. Like we were talking about, like, Dylan was talking about him jumping out of the gym, which he could do at that time still. But, like even with a guy like LeBron now, if you watch LeBron jump, it's different now than it was a decade ago. It is a big difference. And I just feel like that whole team, Rodman, Pippen, Kukoc, they were all playing just so perfectly. And still really couldn't bother or stop Karl Malone that much. And, that Jazz team was incredible as well and stacked. But I just feel like, just well disciplined. And I feel like that there's a chance Utah, could have. I always just felt like, because I was getting into basketball at that time too. And again, like a loser, I was rooting for the Jazz. I was rooting against Jordan, but I just wanted to see him lose. And Karl Malone kind of gave me that feeling more than, honestly, even Reggie Miller, or I guess Karl Malone seemed like he was kind of unfazed.
One thing I like about the doc with Karl Malone that I'm so happy they showed was after they lost that Game 6, Jordan's 6th year, there's a scene where the Bulls were on the team bus, and Karl Malone came on the bus, went to the back, and congratulated Michael Jordan. That was like, wow, sportsmanship. That gave me like, wow, I like Karl Malone even more because of that.
Totally. I mean, Karl Malone definitely doesn't have the reputation as like a warm and fuzzy guy, and I don't think he played the media game or wanted to, but man,
there's reasons for that, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it right now, but he has a dark history, dark past that he does not want to be talked about in the media.
No, he has a million kids, and he does not talk to them.
He got a 13-year-old girl. He got a 13-year-old pregnant, but that's another story.
Jeez.
Oh yeah. Well.
Yeah.
I mean,
started with Albert Robinson.
Yeah.
That's what you
Is this midway Karl Malone? You don't want to hear what I'm going to say at the end.
Albert was the shittiest person. I had my thoughts reserved about Karl Malone.
Oh my God! You know what,
buddy? Albert Robinson's Wikipedia page we'd have to stop this podcast and take a 15-minute just respite to be like, who am I? Who do I hang out with?
I think right now is a good time to stop talking about this immediately.
I don't want to go there. I'm sorry. I didn't want to go there.
No, it's all good. I think the duality of who people are in sports is always going to be something for every sports fan. And for sure, both of those guys are particularly, bad. But let's go into the direction I want to take this, which is just, I guess, maybe, since I'm in that spirit of denial right now, we'll go further into kind of like escapism. And I want to tell you guys about how I'm coping with this pandemic. And that's by playing my NBA 2K player. Matt, I don't know if you got any inspirational music for me, but if you do, could you fire it up? Thank you. Okay, so his name's Federico Noel Rivas, 6'5". He's a playmaking shooter. He got drafted by the Raptors, 30th overall, after horribly failing in the combine. But I was drafted by the Raptors. Very happy about that. And I'm going to tell you a bit about what my guy is up to. And you can be the judge. I think there's a lot of growth. So I'll start with the good stuff. My stats are 17 points. 3 rebounds and 9 assists, with 3 turnovers a game on 50% from the field, 34% from the 3, and 64% from the free throw line. I've moved up to 2nd in rookie voting, and the Raptors are now 41-26 with me. So still worse with me, and yes, we are playing into the future because we've played past the Gobert incident. So about 5 or 6 games into the abyss. And I did an alley-oop dunk in practice. That felt great. And probably the biggest thing that I should brag about is for 5 games in a row now, I've landed over 20 assists each game. Wow. My career high was 26 assists. And when I checked my tweets after the game, it said I broke Scott Skiles' record of 30 assists in a game. So that felt weird because 26 is less than 30. So yeah, it was a compliment, but it was a glitch, So, but anyways, my goal is I want to pass Mark Jackson's rookie record of 868 assists in his rookie season. I'm just rounding on 700, and I'm doing my best. And last little bit here, I got a fun little extra session where I got to do a green suit kind of like dunking thing. And I got 3 attempts to dunk, failed all 3 attempts, And then the animated guy said, "Wow, nice dunk. We might use that for the cover." So on that note, if there's any reporters out there, do you have any questions for me?
Any rookie hazing going on in the locker room? Or do you have the donuts or coffee for the players?
No rookie hazing, but when I won player of the game once, I chose the option to give a big speech, and as soon as I started my speech, all the other players walked away.
Okay.
I have a question. So Karl Malone got a 13-year-old girl pregnant.
Let's not go
Comments?
there.
Oh, God.
Comments on that?
I don't want to go
It sounds horrible.
My thoughts are reserved because of that. My thoughts are reserved. Many years ago.
No, I have another question actually. What position do you play again?
I'm a shooting guard, but I've kind of merged into point guard. And Kyle, sometimes when I pass Kyle the ball to bring it up, he passes it right back to me. It's pretty hype.
Yeah, how do you think that the locker room rumors of Kyle Lowry demanding you be traded for someone else?
Kyle, I think he's a bit ornery towards me because I kept early in the season was demanding the ball too much.
Mm-hmm.
But
all that passing, you guys seem jealous. He's passing the ball a lot. They're gonna probably like you more than Kyle Lowry.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, right? So his assists have went down to 5 a game now because I'm basically demanding the ball and running every play. But I'll say this: he's hitting a lot of shots from me, and he's my main guy to find for threes. So I don't know if anyone has any other questions. Matt, you got anything for me?
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if there's been any European offers for you to leave the team yet. You ask that every time, and I feel like you could really have a good career over in the Chinese basketball league. Or
I'm actually quite open to that, and if the game did that for just the sheer sake of how hilarious it would be, I would 100% take that option.
Nice.
I would love to be a player. Honestly, if I could win an MVP and then go play in the Nicaraguan league, that would be ideal. But yeah, I think that's it. Dylan, did you have anything else?
Oh, questions for your made-up player?
That's right.
So religion-wise, are you religious? And if so, how is that affecting your life with the Raptors?
Great question. I wouldn't say my guy is religious, but he is addicted to gambling. So he's kind of he lives a bit of an Uncut Gems style life.
See, this is something I've really given thought to, because now stand-up comedy isn't going to happen for a long time, is going on Twitch and just making and playing on my player, but doing stuff like that, just saying my guy got drunk last night so he plays bad, and then just honestly, on purpose, missing all these shots but still demanding the ball.
Honestly, I believe in you, and I hope that you start that campaign.
And then getting 4 viewers and just telling my wife, I can't do that right now. My 4 viewers, my guy just started doing blow last game, so I really need to build up.
Yeah,
the
you have to
storyline.
see how it affects the body and all that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Rodman?
Oh my God, Dennis Rodman. Well, we're gonna get to Dennis Rodman, but I think that's it for my player. And let's move on to the last part. The last question about this documentary before Quickish Questions. Matt, I hope you have some more stings for me, and I'm not getting the sting that is inappropriate. But I guess give me what you got.
Can somebody get Nurse a fisherman's friend, please?
Well, folks, thanks so much for tuning into this episode of the Blue Confederacy of Dunks. That, yes, was a sound of someone coughing in a hallway.
Sound like
That was real time.
It's at practice, and it was pre-COVID. Okay, it's just a fisherman's friend spot. It's in his contract. He has to have a sore throat all the time.
Right, but it's not in our contract to play that sting.
Fair enough.
Okay, I think this is actually progress with me and Matt. I feel like that sting's for sure coming next week, but still progress nonetheless. Let's just kind of muse about the doc here. Matt, if you have any moments too, please chime in. But I'll go to you first, Bobby. Obviously it's going to be hard to pin this down, but just fire away. What was the single best moment of this 10-part documentary? What was the kind of flashbulb? Wow, that image is seared into your brain or whatever.
That's a tough one because there's like plenty, but I might have to go with, I think it was like episode 7 or 8, and they had a backstory about Jordan's father. That one scene where he just won a championship against Sonics, and he's in the locker room on the floor crying. Like for many years, we all seen that image, but we never got the audio. And when I heard the audio for the first time last week, oh man, like literally, I was choking up. I had like tearing up. It was kind of hard for me.
Yeah, that seems intense too, because it was also like kind of like a pregnant pause, like they just like kind of like held the camera there for and it definitely felt like one of those documentary, like that to me really felt like one of those documentary moments where you want the cameraman to leave.
Right. Yeah.
And that to me is always like, oh, like you can just feel it. Dylan, do you have a favorite moment from the documentary?
Favorite moment? I don't know. I don't think so. Cumulatively, probably just watching the fact that the greatest athlete consensus, I think, obviously these things go in ebbs and flows. Like, we'll be old men one day and there'll be some guy who everyone thinks is better than Michael Jordan, probably, or everyone will argue that he's better than Michael Jordan. And if people don't believe that, then like there's people who are like in their 50s who will swear that Jordan never surpassed Kareem. You know what I mean? So I think it was honestly just that like the consensus greatest athlete of all time smoked like seemingly 150 cigars a day and gambled and just played golf. And like he worked out, he shot jumpers and was in the weight room, but he just like smoked. Like the craziest scene in that whole thing is just when he's in that hotel room going like, oh, I can't believe I have to go out there and it's going to be such, I forget which episode it is, but he's smoking the hugest cigar in his hotel room. I was like, I guess you could just do that back then.
The guy smoked a lot of cigars, and
he smoked 6 cigars a day.
Listening to the Danny Ainge thing, I think it was Danny Ainge on the Low Post, and they talked about going golfing. It's like they played 36 holes in the hot sun.
Rest day too, where it's like his rest day, where he's talking about, oh, thank God Phil didn't make us practice. And also, I think people forget how old everyone on that team was, because like Pippen was 32 and he was the youngest guy. Rodman was 37 on that team. I didn't realize as a kid when they signed Rodman, he was already 34.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah, he was pretty old.
Yeah. He was old. He came in the league at like 25.
Oh wow! Well, yeah, I knew he came into the league a little bit late, but I had no idea because like in those Pistons photos, he looked so young. I just assumed he was like 21 when he was like playing with Isaiah Thomas and stuff. My moments, like I kind of like, so for me the Paxton shot. I don't know much about Paxton, or like I don't think he's someone I'm gonna like talk about, but just the way the arc of that episode, because I felt like they did the same thing with Rodman having a monster game, with Kukoc, obviously with Pippen a couple times, with Kerr, with Paxton. But Paxton to me was the guy that like he's had the least amount of fame since that moment. And hearing just like how special that was for him was kind of like, oh man, that was a really, really sweet kind of like moment. And he was ready. Like in the last episode, Kerr saying to Michael Jordan, it's like, I'll be ready. It's like, it's kind of like cute in a way, because not everyone gets to be Michael. Most people don't. And I think being a winner in Michael's world is a very, very specific thing, and winning is not. There's so many ways to win, and there's so many ingredients to winning. So I think highlighting that arc was huge. And then cheating in my own question, the other moment, just because I like things that are insane, is Hulk Hogan laughing that Dennis Rodman mispractice. Like, that to me is like full real life heel. That's like that's like David Stern must have been furious. Like he must have called Vince McMahon. Like, so I don't know.
I actually heard they fined him. The league fined Dennis Rodman $20,000 for mixing praxis, but he got paid from Turner from wrestling. I think it's Ted Turner who was owning wrestling. Yeah, he got paid for Ted Turner to make an appearance for $250,000.
Yeah. There you go.
People forget this too. He wrestled Karl Malone later on.
Oh yeah,
I was so happy you brought that up because Karl Malone
he wrestled Karl Malone.
Well, Karl Malone, he got a dose of that. He saw that and he's like, "Oh my God, that guy won the finals after doing that. You got to let me on the show." Never wins. Okay, let's wrap this baby up with some quickish questions. Sound good, guys?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
All right, Maddie, if you got that quickish question sting, give it to me. Just a rad ass sting. Wait, Matt, did you have a moment, like a favorite moment from the doc?
Oh, it was those security guards all day. I want more of the security guards.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah. We heard about the one guy with like the perm, and then you see, they dig deep into the other guy that was like a father figure. It just was like,
yeah,
man, that security team should have their own doc.
Yeah, that's something that I didn't know about. That's something I think no one knew about.
The part where the guy with the perm wins the game of dice and then does the Jordan pose to Jordan, and you see him Jordan gets so fucking mad, like he's so fucking mad that this guy made fun of him. You could tell, like, if those cameras weren't there, he'd just like slap him in the face.
What did he win? He won like a quarter too, and Jordan got so mad from losing a quarter.
He was so pissed.
But yeah, that guy honestly, people like talk about like Jordan being, this like hyper present athlete. That guy having the presence to be like, I'm at work, Jordan can fire me, but I need to go for this. I'm doing the shrug. Like, oh yeah, like that guy being like, this is my moment. The cameras are here. Okay, let's jump into these quickish questions. I'll go Dylan, Bobby, Matt, and you know me. I'll stutter and stammer and slur through these questions, and you have to answer them as quick as humanly possible. No phoning a friend. Just you got to blurt out the answer. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Born ready.
Okay, Dylan.
Yes.
Which Bulls championship was most like the Raptors championship?
None of them, because we had to rent a player and a guy got hurt.
Harsh. Okay, Bobby.
I'm sorry, but that's what happened. The guy got hurt, and we had a fling with the greatest fling of our lives.
Hey, quickish, harsh questions, right? Bobby.
Same question.
No. Here's your question. Imagine Masai in charge of the Bulls in 1998. So just like what would he do?
What would he do in terms of like
in the off season? Would he bring them all back?
Oh, definitely, he'd bring them back. I think Jerry Reinsdorf was a cheap model. Sorry, I think he's a cheap bastard. I'm not gonna swear, but I think he'd definitely bring them back for one more year.
You gotta go for number 7 or 4 in a row.
Cost.
Matt.
Oh boy.
What Raptors playoff game was most like that final game 6, 1998 versus the Jazz?
Which one was most like that? Oh boy. Of our championship run?
That's right.
I mean, maybe like game 2 of Orlando. I don't know.
All right. Quickish questions, quickish answers. Dylan, do you think the Bulls could have beaten the Duncan Robinson Spurs in 1999?
No, because I think Rodman, really his substance abuse took hold, and Scottie Pippen's back was too messed up.
His back looked bad at the end of that.
Yeah, he couldn't move.
Yeah,
Bobby.
this is like leaving all the court. Sorry.
Sorry, Bobby. Worst dresser, MJ or Dwayne Casey?
MJ with those big ass baggy pants used to wear, baggy jeans. MJ.
Matt, which
Yes.
Raptor would be the best teammate for Jordan era? Any Raptor era, and why?
Oh God, I get all these tough ones. I think that maybe like a Bargnani. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's good.
Bargnani. Yeah, I think he'd get along really well with.
Perfect. Yeah, Jordan would kick his ass. He would beat him up literally every day. That's
Just
amazing.
showing up to the game with 2 black eyes, clear makeup on it.
Yeah.
Okay, Dylan. Who should have received more focus in The Last Dance?
Who should have received more focus in The Last Dance? I would love to hear the story of how Dennis Rodman started getting along with the Bulls, being that he was part of those Pistons teams that Jordan hated. Even just like 5 minutes on it.
Great answer. Bobby, what wild, untold story would be uncovered if there was a documentary about the Raptors championship season?
What wild outcome story would be? It's a tough question too. Oh man, I won't even know. Wow. Is this for any Raptors, like any year, or was it just for last season?
It's from the championship run or championship
man.
season. Sorry.
What wild story. That's a tough one. Oh man.
You got to make one up.
Oh, I gotta make one up.
Yeah.
The stuff that maybe Quad was doing load management away from the team. Like, what was he doing? How was he spending his time? He probably was doing something crazy, maybe, that we don't know about, or we never figured that he'd be able to do. That's
a good answer. I was going to go in the, Danny Green has multiple snakes direction, but because something could happen there. But this one's just a comment, and then Matt, you're going to get the last question. So not a question, but a comment. When we return to the finals this year, we need to have a bull crap mobile in Jurassic Park that fans can smash with a sledgehammer. And I just put a laugh emoji by that, and I said I fully agree. We do need more sledgehammer-based events in general, and of course at Jurassic Park. But Matt, this is the last question of the podcast, and it's not hard, but I think you're gonna love it. With speculation, Jim Carrey will appear as the Mask in Space Jam 2. What other 90s cameos would you like to see show up?
I don't know. This would be a tough one to do, but I'd love to see Jonathan Brandis from Ladybugs.
That's good.
Okay. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, guys, that's the pod. Thank you so much
thanks
for
having
joining.
us.
Oh my God, this is great. This is fun. We got inappropriate, we got crazy, but also people have histories, and they're difficult to deal with. Look into those if you like. But
Look into the dark side of sports.
Yeah, there is a
It's
dark side.
sad.
Dylan, you're hilarious. You're amazing. What are you up to right now? It's okay if you're up to nothing. Yeah, tell people where they can find your stuff, and or tell them how to live their life.
Oh, sick. All right, first thing, June 4th, I have an album out, and that's on Bandcamp, dylangott.bandcamp.com. It's $7. It's available on streaming platforms starting that day as well, but it's also just $7, and there's like a bunch of extra tracks that I didn't put on the album that are not going to be on the streaming platforms that you have to pay for. $7, dylangott.bandcamp.com, or you can go to @dylangott on Twitter. Other than that, I have a podcast called The Wrestler Review, and we do an Instagram Live where we do a watch-along of a bad wrestling show 3 p.m. Eastern, Tuesdays and Thursdays. 3 p.m. Eastern, Tuesdays and Thursdays. Other than that, I'm learning to code because the world is ending.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm going to code all this other stuff.
Hell yeah. Well, Bobby, what's up with you? What do you want people to know?
Well, not really doing really much because I can't. I'm just like doing a lot of reading, getting a lot of rest. I'm doing a lot of exercising as well because hopefully when this thing gets over with, we can start flying. I might just buy a plane ticket and go somewhere hot and be on the beach and have my beach body ready.
Ooh, I like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm doing that
I don't
too.
think I'll never have a beach body, but at the same time, I want to feel good. So I'll be working out. And for me, that's basically 5 squats. But hey, to each their own. Yeah, I think that's it for the pod. Thank you so much for everyone who listens. Share, subscribe, let people know about it. And yeah, hit us up with any questions or anything. Maddie, are we done or what? Are you gonna let's take this baby out.
We're done.
Hello? Can anyone around here speak basketball?
There it is.
It's the Confederacy of Dunks Basketball Podcast.